Hi everybody, this is JoAnne with Praise Builders Craft Time. We just had Memorial Day weekend, this last weekend, and I am hoping everyone got a chance to get together with their families and take a few minutes to think about what Memorial Day means. It's a day of remembrance for all the military people through all the years who have fought and many died to protect this country and to give us the freedoms that we enjoy. And we are hoping that you did take some time to consider that. With summer coming on, there's a lot of talk about how to do social distancing during the summer. And that started me thinking about growing up. We lived out in the country, quite a long ways from anybody else. So during the summers, we could go for a week or two without seeing anybody outside of our family. My brother and sister, I and my two younger brothers, we made our own fun. We could play outside. We did more with dirt and sticks than you can imagine. And we just found our own ways of making fun. When we did do crafts, we would use whatever materials we would have on hand. Newspapers, back in my day, were a lot more important than I see them being used nowadays. We didn't have computers, and we only had news like 6 o'clock at night or at the noon hour, and we usually weren't in the house at noon. So we got a lot more use out of our newspapers, reading them, especially the Sunday morning comics. I can remember many times we would come home from church and fight over who got to read the comics first. And we had a lot more comics, and I just loved some of the storylines we had in some of them. You may need to go ask your grandparents if they remember Mark Trail, Steve Canyon, Dick Tracy. They would have stories going on week after week in the funny papers. Loved them all. And the papers themselves were so wonderful to have. There were years we would save the comic strips and use those papers to wrap our Christmas presents. And some of the crafts we did were with newspapers. Today's newspapers, they've changed the size, they've changed the shape. So in order to use today's newspapers for the crafts, I found that I had to chop 3 inches off the end of one end of the newspaper in order to get the correct dimensions to do the crafts that I'm going to show you today. After cutting off the 3 inches of the newspaper, you take what you have left, fold it over, and you fold it in half with the seam at the top. This is so you can tell where the center of your piece is. So you see that fold line? That is what we're going to use. We're going to take one corner and fold it down until you get to the center. Make a nice sharp crease. We're going to do the same on the other side. Make your nice sharp crease down that way. You should have your points in the center, and these two ends should meet right down here. And what we do is we take the bottom and we fold it up. And take that, turn it over, and fold that again. Now, what we would do if we were really just goofing off, we would just take the ends, fold like that, fold in and back, and we would have our captain's hats. Believe me, we had some epic games playing with that. Aside from a captain's hat, this is one of the steps onto making a boat. You have your captain's hat, and again, making sure your ends are folded under. You take it, hold it sideways like that. It should be a nice square. Here's your folds, here's your top fold, and this was your original folding over seam. What we're going to do is take from here on down, fold it over so the point meets your top, nice sharp crease. Turning it over, doing the same thing on that side. The next part is the kind of tricky part. You need to take this, and this is fun to try to do without unfolding it. So pull these ends to the side and pull the top down. You need to make sure you tuck in and fold down carefully. And if you do that without the thing unfolding on you, that is really cool. Then you just take the bottom here, just open it up a little bit. And you have a boat. We used to float these down the creek, and sometimes we tried to wear these as hats, but they were much smaller than the captain's hats and they never stayed on very well. This was one of the things we liked to do for fun. One of the other things we used to do for fun was to make fortune tellers. We had lots of fun with these, and they're rather easy to make. What you will need first is a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. For this, I'm using waste paper, so I don't have to waste an entire nice sheet. The first thing we're going to need to do is to square up the paper, because we're going to need a square starting point. Easiest way to do that is you take your paper, you fold it over until you just get to the point there, and you match that end to that end. Pull that down. You see, that's what we're going to want to get rid of. So what we're going to do is just simply fold it back until we get that edge matching that edge. Now, if you have scissors, you can cut them. Back then, 9 times out of 10, we couldn't find the scissors. So we would just simply take these, and with your nice sharp crease, just carefully rip off. You would have a slightly jagged edge, but like I said, we may do with what we have. There we go. So you have a nice, pretty much square piece of paper. So you also see we have our fold in the center. We're going to want to do that going the other way also, because you're going to need to use those folds as guides for the next step. And hopefully you do this perfect enough. You go from point to point, point to point. Then you're going to take each point, and you see where the folds cross in the center? You're going to want to fold these down so the point and a nice sharp crease. You're going to want to do that from all 4 directions. You want to make sure your points meet just nicely in the center. Now on our cut side, you want to make sure you don't have any overlap. So if you have to short it just a little, you'd rather have that than an overlap. Here we go. And we have all 4 points folded down to the center. Once you have that part done, you're going to take this and turn it over. And again, you're going to see where your center point is with this paper on it. It's going to be a little more difficult. And you're going to fold your points into the center again. So you have your folds into the center. You see you have just first folds on this side. Now this, I used the waste paper just to show you how to do the folding. I did do one where I actually used a clean piece of paper and I finished it. What I did is, you see these folds size? I wrote different colors, red, blue, yellow, green. And on the inside, I wrote numbers. What we would do is that you would play this with somebody else. You would ask them, choose a color. Say I chose blue. You go B, L, U, E. That side, you would look inside and you would see the numbers. This one's got 1, 4, 5, 6. You would ask them to choose a number. Say they did 5. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They would choose one more time and say they chose 3. Under here, I would write fortunes. This one says, sit outside and relax. And that sounds like a wonderful idea. You can have whatever kind of fortunes you would like. You can have fortunes and less fortune things. This one says, clean a room. Boy, am I glad I didn't get that one the first time around. This one, drink coffee. For me, that's a given. And this one, read your Bible. There's no reason that you can't combine drink coffee, sit outside and relax, and read your Bible, which is seeing it such a lovely day. I think that's what I'm going to do. And I hope all of you have a lovely day and a lovely week. And I hope we are praying for each other and looking forward to the day when we can safely all get together again. Bye.